All right, good morning. Welcome to another game day as we wrap up the month of September today. It is the Johnston RV Center Saturday preview presented by Champy's World Famous Fried Chicken. Johnston RV Center, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. Always online, johnstonrvcenter.com. Dunaway, what is that, Dunaway? You went too fast. What do we got?
My sixth place today.
Wow, you went big. My gosh. Bigger graphics.
I'm getting older.
Dude, I love the arts and crafts.
Yeah. I like the effort there, Dunaway. Very nice.
Yeah, a little pin board.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to go ahead and unveil them, or we got your 12 and 15 against
12 and 15 ATS. Fade Dunaway. LSU, Nebraska, Auburn, South Alabama, Arizona, and Virginia.
Wow.
Those are the plays.
Okay. Anybody that's got the balls to play Virginia, God bless you. Up 2 units last night. Big play with NC State. Got inside the number. Lost the game by 3, getting 3.5. I didn't watch one play, I got to admit, because I'm in Auburn. Well, I'm in Lake Martin now. I was in Auburn last night for a party. No TV. Didn't get to see it. No idea. Should they have won the game? Should they have lost the game? Should they have covered? You guys tell me.
I was at a haunted house last night for I think it was Next Round Live. Maybe it was Disrupt the Media. So I did not see any of that either. I got to watch Oregon State beat the crap out of Utah.
Yeah. I had Oregon State too.
Yeah. Yeah, that was surprising though, right? Beat the crap, Dunaway. Beat the crap. Maybe not.
I mean, Utah now. I mean, if they ran the table because the Pac-12 is so good, you got an opportunity. But if Cam Rising doesn't play, that offense is terrible.
Well, I mean, they scored 7. And last week they had a defensive touchdown, right?
Yeah. So they scored 7 last week.
Yeah, just get 14. Their offense is miserable. So yeah, they're not a contender without Cam Rising. There's absolutely no way. So yeah, 21-7, Oregon State beat Utah. La Tech 24-10 over UTEP. Louisville in a yucky game, as you guys said, 13-10 over NC State. So those are your games from last night. We got a fun day today. Lance is at Lake Martin because he's headed to Jordan-Hare Stadium for a little bit of Auburn and Georgia. We'll talk some about that. EG is going to join us coming up in about 15 minutes. She's headed to that game as well. So while we got Lance here, Dunaway, let's jump into some of these games. Penn State minus 26.5 at Northwestern. I only bring this up because Penn State's a top 25 team. We normally hit the top 25 teams here. This is a pretty yucky game today.
It is. I just wonder, how yucky Northwestern can make it for Penn State. It is one of those games with Penn State, LT. I'll let you do most of the talking since you're here for only a short time this morning. So, but to me, it's just survive, stay healthy, so you're 100% for the big games if you're Penn State.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is going to be a lot of Katron Allen, Nick Singleton running the football. If Penn State wants to cover, I think they cover. It just really depends on where their motivation is. Northwestern, not a good team. Penn State statement game last week against Iowa, shutting out the Hawkeyes. I completely stayed away from this game.
Clemson, 11 o'clock game, and Lance does not do a lot of 11 o'clock games at lanceslock.com, as you guys well know. Another 11 o'clock game up in the Dome, the JMA Wireless Dome. How about that? I remember that from the show this week. Clemson, -7 at the QSLT. ABC has this game. It's our boy Lugabill. He'll be on the call, this one from the Dome. Interesting to see how Clemson responds to that Florida State loss, where really I think they outplayed Florida State. I think they were the better team in that game. They just lost.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, motivationally, where is the head at after playing 60 minutes and then overtime of really good football and losing at home? On the other side, though, this sounds crazy, but I think Garrett Schrader is a more productive quarterback right now than Cade Klubnik. And that Syracuse defense, I think, might be better than Clemson's defense. With all that said, Clemson is a favorite for a reason. They've had problems in their own before. I completely stayed away from this. If I would have played it, I think I would have played Clemson.
Yeah, Clemson's got better athletes, so I would go with Clemson, definitely. It's the motivation thing for me. I don't know about Syracuse defense. Who have they really played so far? But they are tougher. That's usually their calling card, right? They're usually better defensively than they are offensively. But I think it's easier for the Clemson defense to play their A game than it is for the Clemson offense to play their A game. So I'd ride with the Clemson defense today against Schrader and Syracuse, even though it's on the road. Clemson's offense is just bad. It's inconsistent, and it starts with quarterback play. And I said it in the offseason. I think it's play calling too. I thought the Garrett Riley he's a great offensive coordinator, was overplayed last year because of Max Duggan and all he was able to do for that TCU team. I didn't think that was a great hire in the offseason, and I think it's being shown right now that was not a good hire, and he is not Lincoln, his older brother.
Yeah, Dunaway, I talked about that with Luganville on Ball this week. If you just took Clemson and you popped the video in and I told you, hey, this is from the Jeff Scott, Tony Elliott era or the Chad Morris era of Clemson football. No names on jerseys. I'm just telling you, this is when they were calling plays. Do you think you could tell the difference?
I think I could. I think it was better back then.
It's worse, right?
Yeah, it's worse.
Yeah, I would have agreed. I would have said they've regressed.
Yeah, I mean, I think they definitely regressed a little bit. It's just not. I don't know. It's not what everybody sold that it was going to be with Garrett Riley. I think it's an incomplete right now, but I think best case you'd give it a B or a C plus.
I mean, if you've got an elite quarterback, just a baller. I mean, Max Duggan's not playing on Sundays or anything. He made plays. He was a great college quarterback. He was gutsy in clutch moments. But if Garrett Riley was the end all be all of offensive coordinators, they wouldn't have played so many one possession games last year. Max Duggan carried that team to the national championship to where you couldn't carry him anymore.
ESPN today, Dunaway, number 22, Florida on the road at Kentucky for the first time in 35 games now. Kentucky a favorite in this one, as Lance told us early in the week. Kentucky -1.5, mybookie.ag, code next round, a total of 43.5 in this one, which I think we all agree is a really difficult game to try to peg.
All right, LT, toughest game on the board today? It's in the conversation, right? May have lost Lance.
Glad you brought that up. Yeah, I think. Am I here?
Yeah, you're here. Go.
Yeah, just a little delayed, I think.
Yeah. No, I was agreeing. I think it is maybe the most difficult game on the board. I don't know what we've got from Kentucky. They haven't played anybody.
It was coming. You could feel that one coming, Dunaway, couldn't you? You could feel that one coming.
That's okay. It is what Lance is saying. It is such a difficult game to call because, Florida's only loss is on the road to Utah to start with, where they're sort of easing their way into this season with a new quarterback. I think Mertz has played better. Lance continues to make the point of how good he is at just completing passes. I mentioned this week that Ed Walken is back at center. He started so many games for Florida. He missed that Utah game. He's played some, but now he's back close to 100%. So I think this is the best version of Florida you're going to get this year. And we just don't know about Kentucky. It's typical Kentucky schedule that we don't know what they are until they play an SEC game, because they usually play a horrendous out-of-conference schedule. They have done that again, and they played Vandy in the SEC. So here we go. We find out what Kentucky really is today. LT continues to bring up Ray Davis running the football for Kentucky. He's really good. We've seen Devin Leary a couple of years ago be fantastic at quarterback when he was at NC State. There's some talent at wide receiver. The offensive line's not what it was 2 or 3 years ago at Kentucky, but it's getting back there. They play really good defense on the defensive line. I just think these two teams are so much alike, and that's why I think it started Florida by a point, went to Kentucky by a point, and it'll be a fun one to watch at 11 o'clock. I don't know who wins it, though. It'll be fun to watch.
Yeah. Do you think I don't know. This is not one of those games we probably have to ask this question for, but I'll ask it anyway. And if you think it's one we don't have to address, you tell me. Do you think it's a bigger game for Napier or Mark Stoops right now?
I think it's a bigger game for Billy Napier, because he's got a little momentum rolling, and some of that Utah loss, if you go back to it, was some bad coaching. That team did not look prepared for the opener. And he got a lot of points back by beating Tennessee and keeping that streak going in Gainesville. And you want to keep that momentum going. And Florida fans just don't lose to Kentucky. They beat Tennessee in Gainesville, and they don't lose to Kentucky. And that's a good way to, keep momentum moving. I mean, there are games down the road, like to Georgia, that they don't want to lose, but they can lose, and you can still be the coach at Florida. Mark Stoops is on a lifetime pass, I think, at Kentucky at this point. Yeah. So I don't think there's any pressure on him to win. Would it be nice for them to win? Do they think they're going to win? Do the fans think they're going to win? Do the fans think they're better in Florida now? Yes, 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 and yes. But at the end of the day, I don't know if Keeneland's open today or not. They're just probably pissed off it's an 11 o'clock game and not a 6 o'clock game so they could go to Keeneland and watch the horses.
It is. The only reason I asked that about Stoops, I agree with you, lifetime pass at Stoops. The only reason I asked that about Stoops is because there's a narrow, because it does still involve Georgia, but a narrow path to Atlanta if you win this game. Now, if you lose this game, it's probably roads closed, right? We got construction road closed. But if you win this game, you do at least keep alive that narrow path to Atlanta. Yeah. And I say narrow, like I said, Dunaway, because it does go through Athens, Georgia, even though that game's in Lexington, Athens, Georgia, and it's you got to beat Florida though for that to be the case.
But then that's the same thing for Florida too. That if they beat Kentucky, they've got Georgia as well. And the one thing that's different is Kentucky also has Alabama. I assume Florida has LSU. So, both of them are very, very like circumstances. A win today keeps a outside shot at making it to Atlanta alive. And, even if you lose today, if Kentucky were to beat Alabama and survive the rest of their games and they beat Georgia, then they win the tiebreaker so they can still get there. It's not over for either one, but it's an easier path to get there. And either way, win or lose, you still got to beat Georgia or to get there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and as look, NH3425, Georgia's always been the bigger roadblock. There's no doubt about that. That's what I'm saying. But if you don't beat Florida, that Georgia game's not going to matter for Kentucky. You got to beat Florida for it to even matter. And that's life as a Kentucky football fan and player. I mean, that's the only way it's going to matter. All right, USC Colorado. It's the big noon kick. It is still USC a 21.5 point favorite. The total, I think, has crept down just a touch to 72.5, 73, depending on where you play it. MyBookie.ag code next round to get 110% sign-on bonus. Whatever you deposit initially, they're going to match it 110% with code next round at MyBookie.ag. That's where we say to play it. Dunaway, USC at Colorado, big noon kick. I think the big story here in this game is watching Colorado's defense. I don't think there are a lot of people that think watching USC's defense. I think a lot of people that think Colorado can win this game, but USC is a national championship contender if they can shore up their defense. And this is one of the bigger tests they have faced to date because of what Shedeur Sanders can do.
I watched the video of Travis Hunter with Henry Blackburn, and they go bowling in that, and he's slinging a bowling ball. And I'm thinking to myself, if Travis Hunter can throw a bowling ball, could he play? He wants to play. They're going to protect him. He's not going to play. It looks like Shiloh Sanders is going to play, which helps them in the secondary a little bit. But Travis Hunter could make this game very interesting if he was playing. But yeah, I mean, Colorado, we all expect Colorado to score on that USC defense. Is there a number that USC could hold Colorado to that would be impressive? Or would we just do typical media things and not give Colorado's defense credit and blame it on Colorado not being holed and say, if they only scored 20 today or 21 today, then it must have been no Travis Hunter and Shedeur didn't play great? Or could we actually is there any way we give credit to USC's defense for anything today?
So I think you've got to, there's got to be some nuance in that, Jim, because if the game is still in doubt, the game's not in doubt. I'm trying to think of how to word this. Like if they get a bunch of garbage points late, and they get in the 30s, I'm not going to hold that against. I want to look at it when their starting unit is in there. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like if USC's starting unit is in there and the game isn't out of hand and Colorado is in the teens or 20s, I think that's impressive. I think it's a step forward, I guess I should say, for USC's defense, especially in the teens. I think that's pretty good offense. Like if it's in the third quarter and the score is 42-13, I'm going to say, hey, I think USC's defense probably played pretty well.
Yeah, and watch the sack numbers because everyone's been sacking Colorado and Shedeur Sanders. 22 sacks allowed, which leads the country, and USC has 19, so they're number 4 in the country when it comes to sacking the opposing quarterback. So those two things don't mix well in favor of Colorado. Shedeur Sanders expected to be on the run a lot today.
Brett answers your question under 30 and H3425 under 30 or over 30. Deja vu for Colorado. So it looks like at least early returns from the audience here. 30 is the number you need to watch.
Yeah, it's not on my big board to play though.
You're going to avoid that one.
Yeah, not going to play that one because I can see Colorado I can see a lot of people get back on the Colorado bandwagon this week after the beatdown by Oregon by the fact that if they cover that game today and get it inside 21.5, then I think that's a win for Colorado.
UAB is at Tulane. Tulane is a 21.5-point favorite in this one, total of 28.5. This is going to be a really, really difficult stretch for UAB, Dunaway, coming up in the next few weeks. And it started with Georgia last week. Heck, Louisiana the week before, their game they lost by 20 at home. Georgia, this game against Tulane. South Florida has played a little bit better, or at least played a little bit better last week after Alabama. UTSA, Memphis, FAU. I mean, this is just a tough stretch of football for Trent Dilfer in his first season.
Yeah, this is what we wanted, though. This is what UAB fans wanted, to be in this league and to play that kind of schedule. And Louisiana is a game that I thought UAB could win. I thought their programs had gotten to pretty much a level place at that time, and it didn't work out at Protective. Nobody thought they would win at Georgia, but I thought they played really well, especially in that second quarter against the Bulldogs, number ones. So I enjoyed that game for UAB. Now what can they do as they jump into the American Conference? And I'm interested to see this game at 11 o'clock because it's on the road. Pratt, I don't know his status. Is he in or out for Tulane? If he's out, then they're playing with their backup quarterback. They still run the ball very well. And UAB's got to be able to man up and stop that run. Ironically, unlike a lot of places that we cover, Auburn, Alabama these days, I don't think there's a lot of question about UAB's quarterback.
No.
Can UAB run the football today, and can UAB stop Tulane's ability to run the football to make it more difficult on them, whomever the quarterback is?
Ninth in the country. I'm not looking at it right now, Dunaway, but I think Jacob Zeno yards per game, ninth in the country. They've got a top 20 passing offense as it relates to yards per game. Unfortunately, I gave you guys the number on the show. I think it was 117th in the country rushing the ball.
Yep.
So, and Trent Dilfer talked about that on our show this week. They just don't run the ball well enough. They've got to run the football better.
And that's not what UAB has been built on in the recent years. So it's a little bit of change of coaching staff, a little bit of change of philosophy, though he still wants to run the football. But I don't think he was as 100% committed to it as Bill Clark and the guys were.
Another 11 o'clock game before we talk to EG a little bit about Auburn and Georgia. Texas A&M is playing Arkansas. I say at Arkansas. Arkansas technically the home game. A home team in Dallas there at Jerry World. -6.5. Is this the last one there? Do you know? It's one of the last ones there. I know that contract right now is going back on campus.
The last one will be an Arkansas home game. So I do think this is it. If not, it'll be they may go back there and play one more Arkansas home game, but next year's Kyle Field, I believe.
Okay.
And it needs to be back on campus because these two now have created such a good on-campus atmosphere. It doesn't have the same atmosphere as it does on campus at this place in Arlington, which is a great stadium. It's just too big for this game. This is a tough one to call. We talked Florida, Kentucky. This one is equally as tough to call for me because Max Johnston starting for Texas A&M, though he looked good. He's 2-0 as a starter and looked great coming in against Auburn. But Arkansas, they put some offense together. They finally protected KJ Jefferson a little bit, though he's been sacked a ton. He's one of the most sacked quarterbacks in America, not named Sanders. And, they've got to protect him against Texas A&M, who can get after you. But when you go toe-to-toe with LSU like they did last week in Baton Rouge, that was an uptick for me for Arkansas. So I think this one is too close to call as well, Texas A&M and Arkansas. That'll be a good one.
Yeah, I think Max Johnson's the big storyline there. And I think a lot of Alabama fans will be watching that game to see Max Johnson because Bama doesn't play till tonight and Texas A&M's on the horizon for the Tide. So you kind of want to see what Max Johnson looks like in that situation. So I do think that's to me, it's the most interesting part of that game is to see, all right, Max Johnson came in reserve, came in off the bench against Auburn and played pretty well for them. In fact, sparked their offense. Can he do that as a starter now when he knows he's the starter and Arkansas's had time to prepare for him? I think that will be interesting to see. All right, it is the Johnston RV Center Saturday preview. Cherokee is the #1 selling brand in America of RVs, #1 selling brand in Alabama, and Johnston RV Center is the #1 dealer in Alabama for Cherokee, and they start as low as $199 a month. $199 a month at Johnston RV Center, I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur, and always online, JohnstonRVCenter.com. That is JohnstonRVCenter.com. Also, Dunaway, great tailgating today from our friends at Champy's if you're headed down to the Plains.
That's right. If you're staying home like me, you can get the to-go and take it home and enjoy the great hand-cut chicken fingers, the Mississippi Delta recipe tamales, the cook-to-order Southern fried chicken, and all the wonderful sides. They've got family packs, tailgate packs, and all that. ChampysChicken.com. Highway 119 in Alabaster. Sterling will take care of you. You can dine in. Great TV setup, great bar atmosphere as well on date night. It's over 10 years old now. Champy's Chicken, Highway 119 in Alabaster. Great folks there. If you're heading to Jordan-Hare right now, swing by there and pick up some wonderful fried chicken on your way down.
All right. Speaking of Jordan-Hare in Auburn, that's where our on Emily Grace McWhorter will be, EG number 13. On her way to Jordan-Hare today. She is down in Auburn right now. Wow. Nice looking.
Good morning.
Beautiful day. How are you, EG?
It's good. It is already, the game day atmosphere is awesome. So I was downtown last night, ton of Georgia fans already there last night. And today I know it's going to be even crazier, but the students are out. It's a beautiful day. It's not a cloud in the sky. It's going to be fun.
Is that Sky Bar? Is that where you are?
No, not. I was there last night. I lasted about 45 minutes, and then I came here, and I drove all of my sweet friends home. So I was very
EG, that's code. EG was the DD last night.
Yes, I was.
Sorry, that's a lot of pressure, and
Yes.
it's very responsible of you. We thank you for doing that.
Of course. And being in Sky Bar sober for a weekend like this, it was challenging. I think it took me 15 minutes to get through a crowd. And I just was kind of going with the motion. I got stuck at one point, but all good.
Yep. Not my favorite thing to do sober either. So
I don't think it's anyone's favorite thing to do ever, but we lived. We told the tale.
Yep. Do you now I'll ask you off air about who your friends were that you were designated driving. That's always really good. Yeah.
It's the owner of this beautiful little porch and house. She's still at Auburn. And so they were actually able to come and see me and Lance and Taylor and Maddie at the Redmont little event last night. Super fun. And they so kindly asked if I would accompany them out. And I said, I have a bedtime because tomorrow's a work day for me.
Right.
But I did it. And it was a good time. You know, this is my 5th time in a row being at the Auburn, Georgia game. Now I'm working on the sidelines, which is pretty cool. But this will be my 5th year in a row being here or in Athens.
It's a great rivalry, and I know the folks at Redmont enjoyed meeting you last night, and our whole crew that was there representing Next Round and Disrupt the Media. Game day atmosphere is there. 2:30, I think, is a perfect Auburn kick for me. Though I love the night, the sunset kicks, you know, with 6:30 kicks when that sun is setting there and the sky turns orange and blue right before kick, and they get the eagle flight and everything. But that 2:30 kick is perfect at Auburn for me because it's enough tailgate to where everybody's in a good mood, good Tiger walk, crowds juiced, and then at 6 o'clock we can all start that journey back home to our place and not get back after midnight. So you're in for a good one today. And by the way, on my big board today, Auburn plus the 14.5.
Okay.
Auburn plus the 14.5. So I think you're in for a entertaining game.
I think I am too. I think if the crowd stays into it, and if Auburn pulls a South Carolina against UGA, I think Georgia could be in a little trouble.
Well, that's the thing. You know, we're 4 games into this with Georgia, and I think the number is 17 first quarter points in 4 games. So they are not scoring points early, and this will be, you know, we kind of gloss over this, EG. It's Carson Beck's first road start. I mean, this is a guy that is going to a hostile environment for the first time in his career. And those are tough things to do when it's all part of the learning process, right? When you have to go into a crowd like Jordan-Hare and get a start. This has been a slow starting team. So Auburn, I do think, has some, they've got some opportunity early to try to make this a game in the first quarter.
Now, when I spoke to Coach Kirby Smart about that, I asked him, is Carson Beck's first road start in this environment? And he said, on the sidelines, you can feel the environment more. When you're in the game, it's not as noticeable. But Carson has to control his decision-making and not let the environment control him. But it comes down to the 10 other guys around him has to do their job as well. And I thought that was interesting. But he said that he doesn't get too high or too low. So he's excited to see him perform in this atmosphere. But in the back of your mind, it's Auburn at Jordan Hare. There's some element of hostility that comes with this, even though, like I said, both the coaches they're not playing into it.
Yeah, and that's been a big talking point all week. It's a good point, EG, the fact that neither one are bringing hate into the rivalry. It's all about love and brotherhood in this Georgia-Auburn rivalry. I think, you talk about Carson Beck and what he'll do in this game. The possibility of Ladd McConkey being back would help him tremendously because McConkey helped Stetson Bennett so much. So McConkey could play maybe on a pitch count. It'll be interesting to see if he makes his debut. In Kendall Milton, the running back, if he's back today, then that's huge for Georgia in this contest. If he doesn't play, Georgia will be down to just 2 scholarship running backs, which I don't know about you guys, Georgia to me is sort of a place I just picture one great running back one great running back after one great running back. And if Milton can't play, they're down to 2 scholarship running backs. That would be surprising to me. So that's why I think Auburn can keep it close. And I know when you spoke to Hugh Freeze, EG, he's hinted all week long he's more involved with this game plan today. This is one the Auburn folks I would imagine you talked to last night are fired up for, to see what they got in a football team bouncing back from that loss.
They are, and at the event last night, it was interesting just kind of hear some of the rumblings of Auburn fans. There's a lot of hope in Coach Freeze, which I think is awesome, but there's also a lot of expectations going into this game. And there's another thing to consider, like you were saying, Dunaway. Georgia's been injured for the last 4 games, truthfully. They've been pretty banged up, and so I'm interested to see Hugh will be more involved play calling wise. However, we do have a potential Georgia team that's firing all cylinders like we haven't seen before. So I feel like on both ends, things are hopefully, at least in Auburn's sake, starting to come together, and to see it head to head. This is the essence of college football today in Jordan Hare in Auburn, Alabama.
John asked this question earlier on YouTube. Who starts at quarterback for Auburn today? I mean, I think you'll see more Ashford, EG, but you'd be surprised if it's anybody other than Peyton Thorne, wouldn't you?
Yes, because of what Coach Freeze said on Monday. Now, obviously, that was on Monday. A lot could have changed, but he made it very clear that he was not going to give Peyton Thorne a QB rating or grade before they get the elements around him figured out, which makes sense. And he said that we'll see Peyton in that starting spot with Robbie getting his touches, so we may see more red zone Robbie.
I think they'll try to suck in that Georgia defense a little bit, because they're going to go back to a little bit more, and this is what Coach Freeze talked about, a little bit more of, the RPOs with Peyton Thorne, and Peyton Thorne's pretty good at that. Run the ball. They controlled the run game at Texas A&M in the second quarter, and then they got away from that or stopped doing it well in the second half. So they're going to try to run it and maybe not be successful with it, but run it enough to where they suck up Georgia and maybe pop one over their head and steal a touchdown or 2.
Now, going off of that, me and our friend Justin Hokanson, we were wondering on Monday, Coach Freeze said that they did not have any RPOs. Now, does that mean that no RPOs were called, or Peyton didn't throw any RPOs? And so I'm interested, again, as he's said all week, I'm more involved, and he even admitted it's been hard for him. So I'm going to be watching Peyton on the sidelines, him coming off the field, him going on the field, the conversations with his teammates, because I think that this is his chance to prove himself against a Georgia team after, hopefully some adjustments have been made around him, and we'll see if Auburn can get something going on offense.
So you're roving around the tailgates today, right? If people want to participate in your weekly game, it's going to be some of the tailgates in Auburn today.
That is something so special about Auburn that I love, is just the whole tailgate setup. So I'll be with Lance, with some of our friends, and we will be hanging out there. I'll be bop around to a few other white tents, my wagon, and then hopefully I'll be in the stadium by no later than 12:30 to start my pregame festivities.
Yep.
Hey, well, next time you're running Uber at Auburn, let me know, because I've got of our Sunday school group, I think we have 8 kids in class at Auburn right now. So we could have saved a couple $100 in our little supper club group last night, just having you drive them home.
You could have.
Yep.
Next time.
All right. Follow us on social media at Next Run Live. Pay attention to our YouTube channel here to see everything EG does from Jordan Hare tonight for Auburn and Georgia. 2:30 kick on CBS EG. We'll have it all for you after the game. Have fun, EG. Thank you.
Alrighty. Bye, guys. See y'all later.
That is Emily Grace McWhorter. She'll be down at Jordan here tonight. Lance'sLock.com, 11 plays. I think I counted Dunaway, 11 plays at Lance'sLock.com. And I was just perusing some of those. A lot of games we've talked about this week. You can play those right now at Lance'sLock.com. Single day packages available, monthly, season long, week long, whatever. A lot of options there. Lance'sLock.com. I'm just going to say this. I'm not going to tip any off.
I don't have any, do I?
There's a little bit of crossover. Yeah, I saw a few.
Same way?
Yep. Hang on. Let me just
let's pair it up because you always want to fade Dunaway. So if it's a match,
Right.
you want to get away.
No.
I like LSU giving, Nebraska getting, Auburn getting, South Alabama getting, Arizona getting. Now, Arizona, keep in mind, may be playing backup quarterback tonight against Washington.
Right.
I'm just not a Washington believer yet. And then LT said, if you play in Virginia, you've got more balls than me. I think this will be Tony Elliott's best day for Virginia on the road at Boston College. So that's my play, a very eclectic group of teams there: LSU, Nebraska, Auburn, South Alabama, Arizona, and Virginia.
Yep. I think I see two crossovers there. Three crossovers. Three that you've matched him on, and there's one other game that's in there that he's got a total, not a side. You just went sides. So
okay, I don't do totals.
Y'all found a lot of games you like there. You found a lot of games you like.
Yeah. And so we're on the same side on 3 of the 6.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm 12-15 against the spread on the year, so that probably says I'm 3-3 today. Then
So
LT will hit all 3 of those. I'll be 3-3, and that's pretty much average for me. Yeah.
Yep. MyBookie.ag to play those. Code next round. When you use code next round, get that 110% sign-on bonus, free money from MyBookie.ag. 110% of your initial deposit right there in MyBookie.ag. Also in that 2:30 window, you liked Michigan. If I saw that right, minus the 17.5 at Nebraska. In fact, I think it was your headline. It was Lance's headline.
It was. I like Nebraska in that game.
Okay, you like Nebraska plus the 17.5. They are down at running back a little bit. They've had some running back injuries, and that has plagued Matt Rule a little bit. But this is a team that flew back under the radar a little bit after those first couple of weeks when they lost that Thursday night game to Minnesota. Then they lost on that big national stage to Colorado. People have kind of stopped watching Nebraska a little bit, but they won't today, 2:30 on Fox.
Yeah, self-inflicted wounds have been the problem for Nebraska this season. We've seen those happen in both their early losses there. They're 2-2. They've beaten a couple of teams they were supposed to, and this team, I think, should be 4-0. Honest to goodness, they should be 4-0 right now going into this game, and what a different story that would be. But I think you're getting a little value in 17.5. That half may be a big factor in this win. If you're a gambler today, I don't think Nebraska wins this game, but I think it's more of a test than, say, Rutgers was for Michigan a week ago when it was 31-7. Remember, Rutgers hit a big pass play early on to make it 7-0, and then Michigan rolled off 31 straight points last week. Michigan's a really good football team. You watch the NFL, Brown. You and DJ Football talked about this. The success Michigan players are having in the NFL are the reason why they're having success in college now the last 2 years, right?
Yeah, you look at Aiden Hutchinson, what he was able to do, a sack and a half on the Thursday night game. Twitty Pay, the way he is playing. Rashawn Gary, the way he is playing. Michigan, and this is DJ's point. He's like, I think this is why they have closed the gap with Ohio State. Now they've kind of turned the tide in that rivalry. Is, to his point, you look at Chase Young, you look at the Bosa brothers. That's what Ohio State was dominating on, and now Michigan has addressed their defensive front, and it's made them a little bit of a different team. So to DJ's point, the school that is leading the NFL in sacks right now is Michigan. And it's just showing that Jim Harbaugh made more of a commitment to recruiting that defensive front, and I do think it's paying off for them.
Yeah, and that it's so, no matter what offense you run, if you've got 3 or 4 guys on the defensive line, depending on what set you're in, that can be disruptive and eat up blockers. Either it's eating up blockers to slow down the run game so the linebackers and the safeties can make the tackles, or they're being so disruptive that you're able to get pressure on the quarterback that disrupts and make the ball come out so much quicker. That'll be a key in the Duke Notre Dame game tonight as well. Mike Elko does such a great job of not necessarily sacking the quarterback, just forcing the quarterback to throw the ball way earlier than he wants to. And I think you can get the same thing when you play the way Michigan plays. Not necessarily getting sacks. You can just make the quarterback make quicker decisions, and quicker decisions learn to lead to incomplete passes.
One last game of the 2:30 window, Dunaway, let's talk about. Number 24, Kansas at number 3, Texas. 16.5, Texas is favored. I saw on Twitter today. I would love to give credit, but I forgot to make note of it. This is the first time in the history of college football. We've been playing college football a long time. The first time in the history of college football that Kansas and Duke on the same day will play a top 25 game. Both teams ranked in the top 25. That's pretty remarkable.
Wouldn't surprise me if it's both time they are both unbeaten this late in the season. That wouldn't shock me either. It's crazy. Two great both basketball schools enjoying success in football. But the Cinderella stories, to quote Dan Lanning, ends today in Austin for Kansas. This is Texas all day long. Is that the way the song goes? I've been working on the railroad all the long day.
Oh, the live long day. Texas all the live long day.
Yeah. So that ends up being their fight song too. It's the same theme. They're going to go all day on Kansas, and Texas beats them badly today.
Yeah. So 16.5, Texas is favored. If you have not watched, I will say this though, if you have not watched Kansas play, the other Daniels, not Jaden Daniels, but Jalen Daniels, the Kansas quarterback's a really good player.
He is.
He just doesn't have Texas talent around him. Quinn Ewers has played nice, but if you give Jalen Daniels Texas talent, he'd be one of the top quarterbacks in the country. But that guy can entertain you, even if they take the loss here today. Kansas does, but that's been a tough game for Texas.
I'm trying to figure out why I do not have Texas on my big board, because I love them so much. Yeah, Jalen Daniels is their best player. He could play at a lot of schools. But that defensive line for Texas is legitimate. We saw it in Tuscaloosa. I hate now that I did not put that on my big board. Texas easy today.
Late ad. Texas on the big board for Dunaway.
Can I make it 7 now and go late ad with Texas?
Buddy, it is your big board. You can have as many as you want. I'm going to let you. Let me tell the people about Johnston RV Center while you update the big board. This is you know who you're like, Stanford Steve. You got the magnet. You're going to slap it up there. JohnstonRVCenter.com. I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. Cherokee is the number 1 selling RV brand in the entire country and in the state of Alabama. The number 1 dealer is Johnston RV Center. You can find them online, JohnstonRVCenter.com. They also offer that lifetime warranty for any new or used under 2 years of age purchase there at Johnston RV Center. You get a lifetime warranty from RV Warranty Forever, so they stand behind their product. They also love the military. You know, we love the military on this show. We thank you for making America, the United States, the greatest nation in the universe. No questions asked. You've done that. They thank you for it. Just their small way of showing gratitude to give you a great discount there. Johnston RV Center, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. Always online, JohnstonRVCenter.com. And our friends at Champy's Chicken, Sterling in the gang. He doesn't just write songs for Rockstar. He makes some great chicken fingers and po' boys and those Mississippi Delta tamales. Champy'sChicken.com right there. Wow, you stuck it in. That's not bad on the fly. Champy'sChicken.com right there, 119 in Alabaster.
That's right. They serve up chicken, not longhorns or cattle there at Champy's Chicken right there. So add that. Is it 16.5 at my booking?
I got it at 16.5. Yeah.
All right. So that's an ad for those of you. That is that's just for the people watching here. That will not go out on Twitter.
Michael says Dunaway has good props. I agree completely. Jim turning it up right there. Brandon says Texas never covers the week before Oklahoma. That's what a lot of people, I think, fear in this game, is that it's the old look ahead to the Red River. And you take it back off now if you want to. The old Red River Dunaway is next week, and you got probably, I mean, it will be a shock if you don't have undefeated Texas, undefeated Oklahoma in that one.
It will be. Reese Davis's, he hasn't unveiled it yet, but coming up a little bit later on today when they do their Super Dogs right before the picks at the end, Reese is going to take Iowa State against Oklahoma. Sources say so.
The old look ahead.
The old look ahead game.
Well, I mean, that's what people worry about with Kansas there. So Kansas, Iowa State, it's so bad. But, Oklahoma, their offense wasn't just up and down the field against Cincinnati. Cincinnati played pretty good defense on them. But it does look like, I don't know that they've been tested yet, Jim, but it does look like Oklahoma has fixed that leaky defense from last year. At least fixed it some. Maybe it's not perfect, but they fixed it a little bit from what plagued them last year.
Yeah, but we saw that how bad Cincinnati is offensively against BYU, and it's so 20-6 last week. Not surprising the win there. And then who else have they played? at
No, they're not
Oklahoma.
playing anybody.
Yeah.
No, they
So
played.
they're going to go into that Texas game. They're going to go in that Texas game without really being tested. Meanwhile, Texas is going to come in already playing Alabama, already playing
Baylor.
a pretty good Kansas team, Baylor on the road. Sark's going to know a whole lot more about his team than Venables is going to know about his team next week.
SEC Network 3:00 kick. This was Lance's upset alert on Tuesday. Vandy is a 14-point dog at home. Missouri laying the 14. Missouri, I did not have them as being ranked at this point of the season. They are number 23. They are one of 3 undefeated teams in the Southeastern Conference. Lance seemed to think Nashville is going to be a tough trip for the Tigers. What say you?
Well, it starts with the fact that they say Brady Cook and Luther Burden are going to play. Luther Burden, as you pointed out this week, Brown, and you can say more on him in a second, one of the best receivers in the country. But they're both going to play, but they were listed as questionable all the way up until last night. So I think the wording is they're going to try and play in this game. So without them, Sam Horn's the quarterback, and you don't really have a playmaker at wide receiver, you could see how this becomes maybe not a Missouri loss, but an easy Vandy cover. Because Luther Burden is that good, Brownie.
Well, to your point, what you were talking about is, we talk about quarterback play in the Southeastern Conference, how it may not be, up to the level it has been over years past. However, 3 of the top 4 wide receivers in terms of yards per game are in the Southeastern Conference. Corey Leggett at South Carolina, who plays Tennessee. We'll get to that game in a moment. Luther Burden, who Jim is talking about there. And then the game we're going to talk about next, Malik Neighbors at LSU. I mean, that's 3 of the top 4 in yards per game receivers in the country. So the quarterbacks are doing something right if those guys are catching that kind of football.
Yeah, 100%. So you can see why, for Missouri and coming off their big wins, how this could be a letdown trip. So I see what LT is talking about in this one. I stayed away from this one because it is a tough one to call, especially when Missouri is laying that many points on the road.
LSU at Ole Miss. That is a 5:00 ESPN game. That's that weird kick time that they have when they have an 8:00 ESPN game, which is Alabama and Mississippi State. More on that in a little bit. But LSU at Ole Miss, Dunaway, 2.5 points. LSU is favored on the road in this one. In the Magnolia Bowl, 66.5 is the total. I think what a lot of people wonder about in this game, and I do, is what is Ole Miss's reaction? Their coach focuses so much on that Alabama game. And last year, they were bad after almost beating Alabama. They don't almost beat Alabama last week in Tuscaloosa. They feel like they let that game get away from them a little bit. It was a lot of their mistakes that cost them that game. But you just wonder, when your coach puts so much emphasis on one game and you lose it and you've got a quality opponent the next week, how do you react?
It's funny that they are saying that because it was 24-10. And let's see, Alabama had to settle for a field goal after blocking a punt in the end zone and had a bad snap at the 1. Also had an interception thrown in the end zone, was in the red zone 5 times and walked away with 10 points. I don't think that game was as close as the score indicates, 24-10.
Yeah.
I think Alabama outplayed them like 38-10 or 40-10. I thought Ole Miss's offense got controlled by the Alabama defense after that first drive. And I thought Lane Kiffin I put him up there on top tier of play callers in college football. I think he called a horrible game after that first drive, trying to do so much sideline to sideline stuff, running those jet sweeps and such that just didn't work against the speed of Alabama. And guess who's got the same speed? LSU does this week. That's why I'm playing LSU. Until they can show me they can run the football. Ole Miss's offense, Lane Kiffin's offense doesn't work without some consistent run game going. And they haven't been able to get that run game back. They're off by about 2.5 yards from where they were last year. Much like Gus Malzahn's offense. If you can run the football, that opens everything up. But when you make Ole Miss one-dimensional, they're not as good as they are usually, and that's why I like LSU today to go in there and challenge that secondary from Ole Miss with those big receivers, and I think it's another big day for Neighbors, and LSU gets the win.
Yeah, that's the thing is, Alabama had some open receivers against them, and Neighbors is better than anything Alabama has, and Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback than Jalen Milrose. So you're facing a more refined passing attack, and Alabama had some success throwing the football, especially on the deep ball against them. So I don't like this spot for Ole Miss. Frankly, Jim, I'm a little surprised the number is where it is. I know that's why Las Vegas hotels are so cheap. But I feel like LSU is much better than 2.5 points favorite over. Are you adding this game too? Are you adding LSU?
No, I've already got LSU.
Oh,
In
that's
fact,
right.
I've got LSU so much I led with it. I don't know if it's time wise, but I led with it. LSU
right at the top.
right at the top there. I listen. I think is it Logan Diggs? Is that the running back? I think
Yep.
they found a running back that they can rely on. It's a little bit more LSU style. That defense is good. The secondary is tall. There's just not a whole lot I think Ole Miss can do unless they establish the run physically between the hash marks. And Lane didn't want to have any of that last week after that first drive. He didn't stay patient and try to establish the run. Sometimes trying to establish the run, it ends up being just 2 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards. But you keep doing it so that it opens up everything else. You got to keep running into that brick wall so it opens up something else. And Lane was impatient last week.
And it shrinks the game when you're playing a tough team on the road. It shrinks the game. Be Rich with us, man. I just do not understand the LSU Ole Miss line. It stinks to high hell, he says.
That's why I'm.
I know. I mean, it looks really easy. I mean, it looks really easy.
Yeah, and traditionally that's a loss for me.
Yep.
But I would imagine on all those stinky lines, they don't get all of them right. And I'm praying today's one of those that LSU mans up and kicks the late field goal to win it.
Another game you like is South Carolina catching 11.5 at Tennessee. Tennessee's getting healthy. Cade Mays is back. They're all SEC center, so they're going to be healthy, as healthy as they've been this year. They're getting several players back. One of them is Mays in the middle of that offensive line. Favored by 11.5. They played UTSA last week, and there were some that were talking about maybe getting a look at Imaleva, but you got pretty good play out of Joe Milton. So I guess everybody's back believing in Joe Milton. They had kind of become some Joe Milton doubters. I don't know where you stand on this guy. I pointed out yesterday on the show, Jim, that when you look at yards per game and passing, he is right there with Jalen Milroe and Peyton Thorne, which is not where we saw Tennessee last year. And they are off, Jim, 60 yards per game from where they finished the season last year right now.
And they haven't played the schedule that Jalen Milroe has played at Tennessee. No. South Carolina's 2-2. Their 2 losses to North Carolina, to Georgia. Both of those not at home. Today will not be at home in Neyland Stadium. Spencer Rattler is playing, in my opinion, better than any other quarterback in the SEC right now, including Jaden Daniels. He completed 17 of his first 17 passes last week against Mississippi State to get that team rolling in the right direction. He's got a true playmaker in Leggett. They're not 100% at receiver, but they're getting healthier. They can run the ball just enough. If that defense plays well today, this will be a game that will be so entertaining, and South Carolina can have a chance to win this game. It was my upset alert. I did not bet it, because I've got my formula I use, and it was outside of my zone of the formula I use, and the landmine doesn't work if I get away from my system. So I stick with my system. But give me South Carolina as a rooting interest today for me, and also as one that I believe that Dowell Loggins can dial up something for the rejuvenated and the rebaptized Spencer Rattler.
What is crazy about what Rattler has done is he's done it with getting pressured a ton, and they are dead last in the SEC running the football. They simply cannot run the football, Jim. So he has put up borderline elite numbers, honestly. I mean, if we're just going to say that, borderline elite numbers with no support around him. He and Leggett, what they are doing without any run support and any offensive line help. It is actually pretty remarkable, as you pointed out, against one of the tougher schedules so far in the country.
Yeah, I mean, North Carolina, Georgia, Mississippi State, and then a gimme game through 4 weeks. Their offensive line has been really bad. And if they lose today, and if they lose it badly, it'll be because of Tennessee's front 7 dominating South Carolina's offensive line, who really need to man up and a gut check. They're missing a great season by not letting Spencer Rattler have a little bit more time.
All right, to the primetime schedule, it is the Johnston RV Center Saturday preview. Johnston RV Center, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman. 334 indicator, always online, johnstonrvcenter.com. That is johnstonrvcenter.com. Cherokee is the #1 selling brand of RV in the country, #1 in Alabama, and Johnston RV Center is the top dealer in the state of Alabama. You can see why by visiting I-65, exit 304 in Coleman or 334 in Decatur, or just going online, johnstonrvcenter.com, johnstonrvcenter.com. Family-owned, just great people, man. We love the Johnston family. We've gotten to know them over the years. They're phenomenal people, great people to deal with. johnstonrvcenter.com. And also, good lunch today, or tailgate, from Champy's Chicken.
That's right. champyschicken.com to get all the details. We always tell you about Sterling and his place right there on Highway 119 in Alabaster. If you're ever driving to the beach, the lake, to a game or whatever, or just want to go for a destination lunch or dinner, it's that kind of great Southern comfort food that you get right there. It's all chicken. It's all Southern fried chicken, the Mississippi Delta recipe tamales. You can't go in there and get a burger. No quality chicken place serves a burger. You go in there and you get a great Southern fried chicken plate cooked to order, or hand-cut chicken fingers, the Mississippi Delta recipe tamales, and so much more. Wonderful desserts made for Champy's as well. Great bar there. Megan makes the margaritas, and so much more. It's all Champy's Chicken, Highway 119 in Alabaster.
I bet Sterling would have an amazing burger, though. I mean,
he would. Great chicken wings, too. But,
yeah,
it's just a principle thing.
6:30 ABC, Notre Dame, Duke. Notre Dame is a 5.5-point favorite. From watching the show this week. If you have, I like Duke. I think Duke wins this game straight up. Bobby says two teams get beaten twice from last week. Ole Miss over LSU and Notre Dame. They will not be able to recover. They lose today. That is part of why I think this is not the only thing I think in this game, Jim, but I do think the nature of the ending of that game last week for Notre Dame has an impact on this week's game.
Okay, let's state a fact, though. Notre Dame's defense played great last week.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yep.
Really aggressive DBs and linebackers. The defensive line held their own. If you follow NFL scouts, so many NFL wide receivers for Ohio State. I don't know how many NFL DBs for Notre Dame, but they played their ass off last week to sit there and battle with them toe-to-toe, and should have won the football game from what the defense laid out there. On the flip side of that, Duke, watched the game tonight, and I read an interesting story from The Athletic. I can't remember the writer's name, that just broke down what Mike Elko's approach to defensive football is. And basically, he is vanilla on first down, vanilla on second down, to try to get you into a 3rd and 3 or greater situation. And then on third down, he is chaotic, so disruptive, pressure everywhere, aggressive everywhere, forcing those quick throws. And his philosophy is vanilla, aggressive on that third down. So watch how many third down plays Sam Hartman has to make tonight. And I don't know who you think the better quarterback in this game is, Sam Hartman or Riley Leonard. I think it's a debate you could argue either side of, but two really good quarterbacks. It's going to be a great football game in a really good atmosphere.
Yeah, I look forward to this one. Game day is there. You're going to have Herb Street, Reese Davis doing the game because Chris Fowler is on his way over to do the Jacksonville Atlanta game in London. I think it's going to be a very entertaining game. I think Hartman is the better quarterback. Riley Leonard, he hasn't been asked to do a ton. They played Clemson week 1. And like I was talking about earlier with Nebraska, they've just kind of gone back under the radar. Nobody's really paid attention to them. All they've done is just go and keep winning games. They were one of the big stories in week 1, and now here comes Notre Dame. I just think it's a tough spot for the Irish. You just wonder. I agree with you totally on that Notre Dame defense. They played well. And really, let the game get away in two aspects, Jim. They had the interception right there on that final possession for Ohio State. It goes right through the defender's hands. If he makes that interception, they win the game. And then you get down there, and this falls on your head coach, but you play two plays with 10 players on the field coming out of a timeout. Though it falls on the coach, the player knew he was supposed to be out there. So at some point, your defense – in that defensive room, they probably look in the mirror and say, we cost our team a chance to beat Ohio State.
Well, Marcus Freeman gets the heat, but you have a defensive coordinator. Yep. You have a defensive line coach who should know he's missing a guy out there. You have defensive analysts who one day want to be coaches, thousands of them, it seems like, at every college now, both in the booth with binoculars on the play or down on the sidelines. And at some point, you got to be. Chances are you're standing next to the guy who's supposed to be out there, and you look around and you're like, "Joe, what are you doing here? Get out there, Joe! My God!"
Yep.
How you do that back-to-back plays, I don't know.
Yep.
And then the way they explained it all week long was just asinine. By the end of the week, there was like, we've got a signal now that if we signal it in, you're supposed to reach out and touch the offensive lineman and get a procedure penalty. Well, just run the guy on the field. We're going to get it. Yeah, it's the 1 yard line. If we're going to get a penalty, let's go ahead and get that penalty for trying to run him out there. Maybe we don't get a penalty.
Yeah.
Stupid.
You know what I'll say though is they clearly don't have the fall down and act like you're hurt signal, because you could have used that one too to get the extra guy on. Real quick, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this game, and then we'll get to Bama and Mississippi State to wrap this thing up. But Michigan State and Iowa play a primetime NBC game tonight. The total is 36.5. If you had to bet your life on the total on that one, would you take the under at 36.5? That is a low college football total.
I would not bet my life on that. I would skydive before I would do that. I think it's to be the worst thing on NBC since the Wings reunion episode.
Wow.
Which was horrible.
I liked Wings though. I liked the original.
I did too, but the reunion episode was not good when they got everybody back for a one-off.
Right.
No to this one. This will not make it on any television, even in a small box tonight.
No, I mean, Iowa's playing back-to-back primetime games. Just makes no sense. But it is a bad Big Ten schedule this weekend. They were they were stuck with that.
They better get used to it, because that's what the Big Ten's going to be. I mean, if you in the future do not have USC, Oregon, Washington, UCLA, Michigan, Ohio State, or Penn State, those 7 teams, if you're stuck with any combination of the others, that is bad football.
Yeah, you got Michigan State just officially fired their coach. Iowa, they can't score. Boring game there.
Yeah.
All right. Alabama.
I mean, Indiana, Rutgers, and Purdue, and all those schools have to be on somewhere. Boy, if I'm Fox, I'm asking Matt Rule, hey man, what can we do to help you get Nebraska good quick? Because we're going to need you for our TV package. What do you need, man?
How much do you need in your NIL?
That's right. Fox will make the NIL for you to get Nebraska good again.
Bama is at Mississippi State. This is the last time these two will play annually, probably for eternity. I mean, that's a bold statement there. Maybe they changed their scheduling philosophy in the Southeastern Conference, but for at least the foreseeable future, last time this is a regularly scheduled annual game. The Tide makes their shortest road trip of the year. Alabama minus 14.5. 46.5 is the total. Mississippi State, as Matt Wyatt pointed out on our show earlier this week, Dunaway, back-to-back weeks, they've given up basically a career day to the quarterback they were playing, Jaden Daniels and Spencer Rattler. So if you're Jalen Milroe and you're looking for that career day, maybe this is the defense you need to face.
Maybe so, or maybe, I've heard many people say it, whether it be fans or analysts, Alabama finally looked like Alabama again in the second half. And they didn't do it by throwing the ball all over the yard. They had some deep plays, but they built it around the run and some design runs for Jalen Milroe. So just because you can throw it on Mississippi State or possibly could throw it against Mississippi State, I'd like to see you still try to continue to identify that identity as a physical run-first team and see how you can do building that and not just rely on the fact that, hey, we can pass it and maybe take advantage of some weakness at Mississippi State. We'll see how it plays out tonight. But I thought it was a glimmer of what we thought this Alabama team was going to look like in the second half. You can't put any lipstick on that pig that was the first half. They were down 7-6 to Ole Miss, and it was a bad first half of football, very Iowa-esque, if I will tell you. But the second half was good, and I want to see more of that for 4 quarters tonight in Starkville. No doubt about that. For me in this game, Milroe, yes. I want to see if the defensive line can look the way it did. The Smiths, the Blackshears, the Jaheim Otis, who got back in there last week and started making plays. Those guys up front, if they can continue to be as disruptive as they were last week, it's a great sign for Alabama down the road.
It is. And Michael makes this point, Dunaway. If you get a confidence boost from Milroe, a road confidence boost, and then you ramp it up just a little bit in another road game at Texas A&M, that's going to get progressively more difficult. This could be exactly what Alabama needs. This could be the medicine they need. I don't know that it will be. I'm just saying it's got potential of being getting their offense a little bit of confidence. You take a road trip for Milroe, and then it ramps up a little bit in the next road trip at A&M. This does set up for a pretty good spot against Mississippi State, I think.
Yeah, Deontay Lawson, though, I think will be out until the Tennessee game.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on, how Alabama's lined up, because he was the guy that got Alabama's defense lined up. Keep an eye on how they're lined up. If there's any open receivers, blown coverages, missed assignments that would come down from the fact that everyone didn't get communicated on what play they were on. That's a focus point tonight for me as well.
B-Ridge says Brownie put a fork in Team USA. Did not even turn it on this morning. Didn't turn it on.
So it's over. What is it now?
Well, it's currently 9.5 to 3.5. And for those that don't follow the Ryder Cup, you got to get the Europeans need 14.5 points. The U.S. just needs 14 because they hold the cup currently.
Yeah, but when I wake up at 4:30 in the morning, if we sweep tomorrow, we win.
Well, yeah, but do you know how hard that is to do? That never happens. There are reports of team dissension, that a couple guys have created a bad situation for the U.S. team.
It's freaking golf.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but any team's gotta have a little bit of chemistry there. The U.S. does lead one match, and Europe leads another match, and another one's tied. So there's still some stuff going on out there, but it's just a disgusting performance by the United States.
Yeah, on European soil, as usual.
On European soil, as always, yes.
Yep.
All right. Don't forget mybookie.ag code next round. Mybookie.ag code next round today. If you'll use that code when you sign on, bet anything, anytime, anywhere with mybookie.ag. They're going to match your sign-on bonus 110%. They're going to give you free money, absolutely free money. 110% of your sign-on bonus right there at mybookie.ag. Code next round, mybookie.ag, code next round. And what games do you play there? Lance'sLock.com helps you out. Lance'sLock.com. He's got up 11 plays today. Daily packages available, week-long, month-long, full season, all those right there at Lance'sLock.com. That is Lance'sLock.com, 11 plays today. Dunaway, show them your plays again. Let's say whether you want to play these or fade these, completely up to you. I think right there at the top, you see Jimmy is 12-5 against the spread. So
12-15.
12-15. 12-5 would be amazing. 12-15. So, all right, LSU at Ole Miss. Dunaway likes the Tigers. He likes Nebraska catching the 17.5 against Michigan. He wrote in Texas. Texas minus 16.5 against Kansas. Auburn, the home dog, against the Dogs, 14.5 as they play Georgia. Jays up for South Alabama on the road at James Madison. The Jags catching 2.5 there. Late night, Arizona. Jaden DeLara may not play in this game. Plus 18.5, though, as they take on Washington. And then wahoo, UVA, Virginia at Boston College. Virginia plus the 3.5. That was perfect. I mean, did you ever run teleprompter in your TV career ever? Because that was perfectly done.
I did not. Norma Ray. Great movie moment.
All right, so those are Dunaway's. Michael wants a Brown Bandit board. There's only one game. Brown Bandit gives you one a week. Lafayette goes early too, by the way. Lafayette at Minnesota.
South Alabama's already kicked off.
That's right.
South Alabama's already kicked off, 10 a.m.
NFL Network this week, is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, they got that early game at JMU. All right, Johnston RV Center brought you the show. We appreciate that. I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur for Johnston RV Center, the number one selling Cherokee dealer in America, in Alabama. Cherokee's the number one selling brand, I should say, in America and in Alabama. Johnston RV does it better than anybody. I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. If you have not watched Rockstar's Playhouse, Sterling, the proprietor there at Champy's Chicken, wrote the song Rockstar did yesterday. Not only does he fry a good chicken, Dunaway, but he can write music. Oh,
just fantastic. So get by Champy's Chicken, Highway 119 in Alabaster.
All right. Y'all enjoy the football Saturday. If the Auburn-Georgia game warrants, we'll be back maybe for a quick hit after that. We'll see. So watch alerts there. We will definitely be back after Bama, Mississippi State. So late night postgame party tonight. Late night postgame party. Set your alerts. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. We greatly appreciate that. Enjoy your football Saturday. We'll see you later on.